Shine with Kendéll Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
Season 9 of Shine with Kendéll Lenice is sponsored by, Your Unhealed is Showing, Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. This is the new book by Kendéll Lenice. Make sure you go to Amazon.com and get 2 copies, one for you and one for a friend. Nothing better than giving the gift of healing to yourself and someone you love. While you're over at Amazon, don't forget to leave a review on this book. It's so important. All right, that's it. That's all. Welcome to Shine with Kendéll Lenice. God bless y'all. Welcome to season 9 of Shine with Kendéll Lenice. This season is sponsored by, Your Unhealed is Showing, Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. That is my new book. Healing is never going to go out of style. And I know sometimes you think it's people's personalities, but it's their unhealed that's showing. And sometimes the unhealed that's showing is yours. So this season, we are going to talk about healing in all kind of ways. That's going to be the focus of season 9. We are going to kick off a New Year's show, but then we're going to go into different types of healing, because healing is just not one thing. When we're talking about emotional healing, physical healing, healing families, healing relationship, healing friendships, there's so much childhood trauma. We are going to talk about healing in season 9. So do yourself a favor and get a copy of my book. It's available on Amazon.com or KendellLenice.com. Your Unhealed is Showing, Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. Get into that. All right, get into that. Welcome. This is the first show outside of the New Year's show of Shine with Kendéll Lenice. Season 9, y'all. Can you believe it's been 9 seasons? Thank you so much for continuously coming back. For those that are tuning in for the first time, welcome to Shine with Kendéll Lenice. This is a life podcast. And as you heard, season 9's focus is all about healing. There are so many ways that we need to heal, and as a life coach, I'm going to help you through it. So, if this is your first time tuning in, I am Kendéll Lenice, your host for this podcast. I am a transformational life coach of 20 years, as well as a healing and aging coach. It is my life's duty and my purpose to help. I have a degree in human services, which is a professional helper of service. That's what I do. I'm a meditation practitioner, an author, a speaker, a talk show host, but most importantly, a woman of God that's trying to figure life out still as a life coach, helping others. And the way that I life coach is through, yes, my education, my certifications, but most of all, my life experiences as well, because we are all in this together. When it comes to healing and when it comes to life be lifing, but God is always going to guide. And as we go through life, there are different twists, turns, and challenges that we experience for the first time at all ages and stages of life. Life is not a thing where you get to a destination, you're like, okay, I conquered life, give me what's next. No, it's continuous. As long as you're on this earth, you will be experiencing life. That's just the way life works. Excuse me. It's a live podcast. Excuse me. I just had some breakfast, and I guess I didn't drink my water right before. I thought I was good, but it is all good. So, as always, if you're just tuning in for the very first time, we always start with this week's life note. All right, it's time for this week's life note. All right, so today's show is all about anxiety, and it's called Calm yourself down for your health. Calm down for your health. That is this week's episode title. Now, a lot of people asked me to do a show on anxiety. I thought I did, and I probably did some seasons back, but anxiety is still here. And this month, this season is all about healing. So this week's life note. So a life note is a quote or a saying that carries you through the show, carries you through the week or the rest of your life. I don't know who this quote is for, or from, I should say, but it's, you are bigger than what is making you anxious. You are bigger than what's making you anxious. That is this week's life note. And here's another for you. We're all just, anxiety does not define you. Let's just do that one. Something simple as that. Anxiety does not define you. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, I have anxiety. I'm anxious. And anxiety, honey, is real. It is real. And I've experienced anxiety on a number of occasions, and it's real. So this episode is not going to be about, oh yeah, just calm down, anxiety, whoop-de-whoop. No, it's real. And we're going to talk about the realness of anxiety, because people are struggling. As I life coach, as I talk to people, as I see on social media, as I have panels on my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. People are talking about anxiety all over the place. It is high. We are talking about it. I interviewed Ronnie DeVoe and his wife Shamari DeVoe of Black. So if you've been under a rock for the last 40 years, Ronnie DeVoe is from the super group, the legendary group, my favorite group, New Edition, Ronnie DeVoe, right? And his beautiful wife, Shamari DeVoe, is from the award-winning group, Black. And she was also in Bring It On. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I interviewed them in 2022, which was an exciting interview. We talked about everything from relationships to this business, to rumors, to love, but also to mental health. And Shamari gave me an exclusive that she never gave anyone. And, well, I should say Ronnie gave it. And she looked at him, and you guys can catch out the interview on my YouTube channel, Kendéll Lenice. But she looked at him when she said it, like, oh, you're going to go there and tell my business, but not in a bad way, just in a nervous way, like, oh, snap, now I'm going to have to address this. Ronnie said Shamari suffers from anxiety, and I don't think that she said it publicly yet, because she looked at him. And I looked at her and I said, no need to be embarrassed. No need, because you don't know how many people you are going to help just by acknowledging that. I said, nope, we're not doing that. Like, you're not going to be embarrassed. And she began to talk about the anxiety. A lot of people feel anxiety, and it is no joke. So what is anxiety, Kendéll, if you're listening and you don't experience it? I looked this up. Intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. Fast rate of your heart, rapid breathing, sweating, feeling tired may occur. Anxiety can be normal in stressful situations such as a public speaking gig or taking a test. Anxiety is only an indicator of an underlying disease which your feelings become excessive, all-consuming, and interfere with daily life. Now, I've had anxiety on quite a few occasions. And as I look back, because I'm the type of person that I love to see where things started with me. I love to see what trigger me. It's so important. And in my new book, I talk about a lot. I reveal a lot about me and understanding me and certain things that have happened in my life that cause certain things and triggers and healing and how to heal. It's so important. So make sure you get a copy of the book. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote it. I'm hearing great feedback that it's changing lives. I'm hearing that once they start reading it, they can't stop reading it because it goes right through to different types of healing. And I share my experiences as well. But I'm a colon cancer survivor, and last year was coming up on year 1, and I had to get my colonoscopy. I had gotten 3 colonoscopies in 18 months, a little less than that, period. Now, if anyone knows, sometimes people get colonoscopies every 3 years, every 10 years. But because I've had colon cancer in 2021 and 2022 marked a year, I had to get I got 2 last year in 2022. So coming up on the second one, I was anxious in the room. So that was bringing me back to the year mark of colon cancer, that diagnosis, and going back to the place where I got the colonoscopy. I was very anxious. And when I got into the room, I could not calm myself down because it was triggering. It gave me PTSD. I was going back in post-traumatic disorder. And I was like, wow, didn't expect that, because I was calm when they gave me the diagnosis when I was there. But going back to the scene almost, it had me anxious where I could not even sit still. I kept getting off the gurney and I said, well, let me go in the waiting room to see my daughters. And I was like, it looked like I was on drugs or something. Like I was like, you know how people, they say, and I've never taken drugs in my life. So you know how they say that people just can't sit down and they're up and they're antsy. Think about the movie Jungle Fever, if you saw it, when he was dancing around, and I wasn't that dramatic, obviously, but I couldn't sit still. And I was so anxious that everything was rising on me because I couldn't sit still. And then I said, Kendéll, you're a meditation practitioner. You got to calm down. And I spoke to myself and I began to calm down, and they were able to do the colonoscopy. They understood because that was my first time back and I didn't expect that. Then the third one that I had to get leading up to it, I was so anxious. My blood pressure was high. Everything was affecting me because I was like, oh God, what are they going to say? And I couldn't calm down leading up to it. When I got to get my colonoscopy, I was super calm. In that case, it was leading up to it. But once I got into that same room that I was just in months before, I was calm. And I started meditating. I started breathing. I started using my tools, doing what I know. And I was calm. And the anesthesiologists and the nurses, they were like, you have a reason to be anxious because of the news that you got here. Some people jump off this gurney. They're bouncing around like beans, like they can't calm down. They can't be still. They're so anxious, and you're cool. And I was like, I explained, some of them, one girl was new, but the anesthesiologist was the same. I said, I was in here months ago and I could not get it together. And I knew that I had to pray and breathe. And that's what I did. And I was laying on that gurney, cool as a cucumber. They came back, with my results and everything. I was cool as a cucumber. So I know that it's about mind over matter and having the tools to calm yourself during these. I've had root canals, and I remember one time I was just breathing so hard, and I just was like, okay, meditate, just calm down and breathe. So you can have the tools to be able to do that. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get anxious, and some of your anxiety might be way worse or stronger than others. So everybody's anxiety level and what makes them anxious is totally different. So we're not going to compare. We're not going to say, well, yours is better, pointing out. No, everybody's anxiety level is different. And the things that may bring me anxiety may not bring you anxiety. The things that bring you anxiety may not be your next door neighbors or your best friends or your cousin, your aunt, your sister, your brothers. Anxiety level is not going to be the same. So I want to give 5 examples of anxiety. But first, I want to take a quick break. Thank you for shining with me, Kendéll Lenice. If you're here for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the show and don't forget to tell your friends and family about Shine. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. If you're able to rate this podcast, please do. If you're able to leave a message, please do. Also, if you want me to talk about a particular subject during season 9, the season of healing, make sure you email me at kendellenice@gmail.com. All right. Or hit me up on social media, DM me at Kendéll Lenice. All right. So what are 5 symptoms of anxiety? And this is from the Mayo Clinic. Common anxious anxiety signs and symptoms include feeling nervous, restless, or tense, having a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom, having an increased heart rate, breathing rapidly, you're hyperventilating, you can't get it together, sweating, trembling, feeling weak or tired, trouble concentrating or thinking about anything other than the present worry. That's a big one. And a lot of people struggle with that. I know I have before. A lot of people struggle with concentrating or thinking about anything other than the present worry. I'm going through a lot right now and dealing with a lot of different things. And sometimes those things can consume your thinking, right? You're trying to focus on something else, but the other thing that's hanging over your head or, stressing you or agonizing you or worrying you will take over. And a lot of people experience that. Like they can't think about anything but that thing because they're stressed. They're anxious over it. They're worried about it. But I'm going to tell you something. That's not the way to be, because that will consume you and you won't be able to do anything else, achieve anything else, or be healthy in that moment, in that space, or even period, because you're so consumed about what's about to happen that you're not focusing on what's happening presently. And you don't want to experience the dangers of that, because you're not going to be able to be your full self and your best self if you're concentrating on some of the things that are coming down the pike. With those type of things, you got to pray, you got to meditate, you got to breathe through it. So one of the techniques that I do and that I teach is slow breathing. So slow breathing can help. It's in 4, out 6. So how that works is you're breathing slowly. This is something that you want to do for 10 minutes, typically when you first wake up and before you go to bed. But the beautiful thing about breathing, you can do this throughout the day. You don't have to be, I know with meditation and breathing, people think that you have to be sitting lotus style. You have to be, have the music on, even though I love the sounds of raindrops in the oceans and, that meditation music. It's so peaceful for me. And I even go to bed with hearing that. It's just so calming. Throughout the day, I listen to that. It just really is peaceful. And the natural white noise of the ocean or rain hitting a roof or birds chirping, whatever you like, whatever it takes to calm you. But in 4, out 6 is simply breathing and holding it for 4. So let's try it. So you're slow breathing. So you're going to inhale and count to 4 slowly. And then you're going to exhale, counting to 6 and releasing it. So let's try that. Loosen your shoulders. Loosen your jaws. Unclutch them. Be still. Quiet your mind. Open your heart. Round your shoulders. Loosen your hands and limbs. Now let's try. We're going to do 3 sets because somebody is anxious right now and somebody needs to do this right in the middle of this podcast. So in 4 slowly, out 6 slowly. And you're going to keep your own count and we're going to do this together. Let's begin. That was 3 sets. Let's do one more. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I want you to take one strong inhale. Let's go. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Slouch your shoulders. Let it out slowly. That's a way that you can calm yourself down with slow breathing. 4 in, 6 out. That's the slow breathing technique. There are so many different breathing techniques. If you want me to do them with you virtually, hit me up. We can do them together. It's so important that you have tools to get you back on track because we don't want the anxiety to stop you from doing what God's called you to do in your destiny, right? We want you to live your best life, but you can't do that if you're always anxious. You have to calm down because your health depends on it. And we're going to talk about some of the things that can really affect your health when it comes to anxiety, like high blood pressure, hypertension, and so many other ailments that can affect you from excessive worry, intrusive thoughts, and all of that. And that's, emotional distress. And we want to be able to be free of that because some of you are suffering from panic attacks because of the anxiety and the strength of that anxiety is causing other things to happen in your life. And I don't want that. Like, I don't want you. I had a good girlfriend of mine who suffered a panic attack and it was scary. Ambulance was called and everything. She thought she was having a heart attack. She had never experienced anxiety and she started experiencing anxiety and we were at the supermarket and ambulance had to be called because her anxiety took over and it turned into a panic attack and she thought she was having a heart attack. So it's serious. So it's important to get this under wraps. So anxiety is what you feel when you're worried and you're tense and sometimes afraid. It's a natural human response when you feel threatened or under threat. It can be experienced through your thoughts, your feelings, or physical sensations. And most people who suffer from anxiety feel it all over their body. Like you can feel it. Like you can feel it in your fingertips. You can feel it. It's like a disruption in your body. And the symptoms go straight to the brain oftentimes. And it goes through your body. And you can experience and feel anxiety all over. So different things that cause anxiety could be your past childhood experiences or trauma. And that's what healing is so important for. Your current life situation. Life, like I said, be lifing. And it's a lot of experiences that people are feeling in life. And your physical and mental health can cause anxiety. If you have physical ailments or you're struggling emotionally, it's difficult to get your thoughts under wraps. And it's important to reduce the stress in your life, because I've done a show on stress, and I'll do it again. Stress is killing folks. High blood pressure, is killing folks. You don't want to be on medication for the rest of your life trying to manage, high blood pressure because of stress. So you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle. It's so important to exercise through it. Like if you have anxiety and if you love to exercise, even if you don't love to exercise, you can walk. You can go for a walk. You can meditate. Make sure you watch what you eat, because some foods trigger that stress and anxiety. It makes it worse because of the chemicals in the food. So make sure you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, drink your water. I like to be outdoors walking, if it's not raining or super cold. I like to be outside. It's something about the fresh air and outside and outdoor activities. I love to smell it. And then I don't know if when you walk or you work out and that adrenaline comes, and you feel like, I don't know, something about breathing in that air and that brisk walk. It does it for me every single time. And of course, I always talk about this when it comes to reducing stress. Spend time with your funny friends, the ones that make you laugh, because laughter is good for the soul in so many ways. And you want to be able to reduce your stress. Some of you have stressful jobs. Your environment at work is not conducive to your mental health. You have traumatic past that you're trying to get over and out of, and because you're under the thumb of what's happened in your life. Personal relationships, divorces, deaths, medical conditions, experiences. So many things play a part when it comes to anxious. And a lot of you have stress buildup where it starts to show, like this stressor you have in your life, then the other stressor you have in your life, then another one, and everything is compounded, everything is piled, and then you begin to have a panic attack, you're stressed, and you don't know how to come from under the mountain of stress. It's buildup. Big events, small events, stressful life situations, they trigger excessive anxiety. You could have a death in your family that causes it. Then you have work stress. Then you're worried about money. You're worried about a marriage or divorce. You're worried about family. You're worried about health. And that is just too darn much. Life is something. You deal with a lot when it comes to life. And some of you are experiencing anxiety for the first time. You've never experienced it, but life is piling up on you and you don't know what to do. You got money woes. You're trying to keep your house. You're trying to keep your kids in college. You're trying to pay your way through college. You're trying to do everything and be everything for everyone, and you stress the heck out. Learning to say no is a huge one that many have to do, because life of its own, already has enough stress, y'all. And if you're piling someone else's stress on top of your stress, emotionally and physically, that's not good. That's not good at all. And experts say that lowering, believe it or not, your anxiety helps improve your memory. Now think about that. Because everything is not piled up in there. And you're learning and you're understanding, okay, what do I need to do to have a better life? Because all y'all hashtagging live my best life, live your best life. All of these little cute sayings that you're saying on social media and you want to live a full life, you can't do it with stress and anxiety all the time. It's impossible. And that's what people have to understand. Like, you got to be able to take care of your life. We only have one. That's it. That's all. And I know a lot of you think, oh, okay, well, it'll pass. I won't have anxiety for long. But if you don't do anything about it, you will. So it's not going to pass on its own. It could. It could, but it may not. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to seek help? Because I think you should. If it's taken over your life, you should see a therapist, a counselor, a life coach. Let me just give you some statistics that may blow your mind or may not. How common is anxiety? So as I talked about it earlier, let's just focus on 2022 alone. We just left 2022. In total, statistics say, and this is from the CDC, 63.4% of adults were categorized as having no anxiety, like statistically, right? So I want you to hear this because a lot of people think this is normal life. So a lot of people haven't been, quote unquote, diagnosed with anxiety. So the numbers where you look up and you see, and it's like, oh, okay, not that many people suffer from anxiety. Okay, 25.5% were categorized as having low anxiety. 7.1% were categorized as having medium anxiety. And 4.1% of people were categorized as having high anxiety. So when you look at that, you're like, most people ain't having anxiety. Look at the numbers. But most people, especially people in the Black community and communities of color and distressed communities and communities with high anxiety lives, highly stressful lives, financial struggles, struggles with crime, struggles with food deserts, struggles with killings, struggles with poor air circulation in communities, struggling to figure out where they're going to live, how they're going to live, how they're going to feed their children. A lot of urban communities, nobody's going to therapy. Nobody's being part of the CDC's numbers when it comes to anxiety. I'm thankful that more and more people are seeking help, but sometimes the numbers aren't accurate. If you do your own polls around the people, because some people think living with anxiety and living with stress and fear and having PTSD, Black people were born into PTSD, by the way. A lot of Black folks are born into stressful situations and anxiety-filled situations and neighborhoods. That's just a fact. And sometimes the numbers don't show that because Black people have a way of wearing resilience on their back, saying that that's just what it is. You know, that's just life. And until they experience other things or other communities, they realize that's not just life. Anxiety disorders are the most common. That's the most common of the mental disorders. It affects nearly 30% of adults at some point in their lives. But anxiety disorders are treatable and a number of effective treatments are available. But Most people experience it. And I look at different statistics, and all of them say something different. So are they polling? If you're suffering from anxiety right now, have you been polled? Have you gone to seek therapy, or you're just trying to work your way through it? Let me know. And that will show you that sometimes the numbers are not accurate when it comes to what people are feeling. And I want to help any way I can to bring awareness to anxiety and to healing and all of that, because we have to heal ourselves in all the ways. We have to wonder what's bringing on anxiety and heal that, whether it's something that happened when you were younger, something that happened during adulthood, something that happened tragically in your life, or something. What started making you feel this way? We have to get down to the basics and heal that to be able to know that we can grow from that and we can be all right when it comes to anxiety. It asks who was the most anxious, and women were more than twice as likely as men to get an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. 1 in 5 adults are anxious. But I can tell you that men have anxiety as well. There's a lot of men that struggle with anxiety. So I'm not sure when they do polls, if they're polling men, are they polling the same amount of men as women? But a lot of men suffer from anxiety as well. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. This season of Shine with Kendéll Lenice is sponsored by my new book, Excuse Me, Your Unhealed is Showing, Healing Purposely and Aging Fearlessly. It's available on Amazon.com. Go cop that. Get one for you and a friend. Don't forget to leave a review. Now back to the show. All right. You heard her. You heard me. Cop that. It's so important to get that book and make sure you get one for a friend. All right, so how can you improve? And we're going to end quickly. So I'm trying to think, coping skills, 11 coping skills. Let's see what the Mayo Clinic has to say about that. And then I'll tell you some of mine. All right, so the MayoClinic.com has 11 tips for coping with anxiety disorder. Whether you've been diagnosed with anxiety, I've never been diagnosed with anxiety at all, but I know that I feel anxious certain times, certain situations that are stressful and leading up to that. I know that I haven't been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, but I do feel anxious sometimes. And some people are diagnosed with anxiety disorder. So it includes, again, feeling nervous, feeling helpless, a sense of impending panic, danger, or doom, increased heart rate, hyperventilating, sweating, trembling, obsessive thinking about the panic trigger. Those are some common ones. So even if you haven't been diagnosed with the disorder, you might be experiencing all of those. So here are 11 tips for coping with anxiety disorder. Keep physically active. So important. Develop a routine so that you're physically active most days of the week. Exercise is powerful for a stress reducer. It really is. It can improve your mood and help you stay healthy. Start out slowly and gradually increase the amount and intensity of your activities. Avoid alcohol and recreational drugs. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. And I know that they say that substances can worsen your anxiety. If you can't quit on your own, see your healthcare provider or find support group to help you. Number 3 on this list, quit smoking, cut back on drinking caffeinated beverages. Nicotine and caffeine can worsen anxiety. And I don't do both at all. And even with certain teas, because I love tea, I even watch my caffeine level in teas. Like green tea has slight caffeine in it. Some of them are caffeine free, but even when I'm drinking that, I make sure it's low. Number 4, use stress management and relaxation techniques. Visualization techniques, meditation, and yoga are examples of relaxation techniques that can ease anxiety. Meditation, remember y'all, it's breathing as well. So just breathe. You can do that at work at your desk. You can do that in your car. Just don't close your eyes. You can do that walking down the street. You can do that while you're exercising. You can do that. You are worth at least 10 minutes of your day. You are worth that. So don't tell me that you're too busy to stop for 10 minutes to breathe. You can do that. You're not worth it? Come on now. You can do that in the bathroom. You can do that in the hallway. You can sneak away at work for 10 minutes. You know, by law, you got to have a 15-minute break. Use that. Instead of being on your phone scrolling, use it for your health. Number 5, make sleep a priority. Y'all, I had to do this. I am known to be a night owl. Everybody that knows me knows, well, you don't go to bed till such and such and such a time. Everybody, I've been this way since I was a teenager watching Arsenio Hall. It used to come on at 11:35 and it was over at 12:35. Then I would go to sleep and do I think I was in my senior year of high school. I have been always up late at night. I literally, last year, maybe the year before, made it my goal to try to go to sleep early as possible. Now, I'm not saying I go to sleep 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I'm not even going to lie. But at least by midnight, I will, because I want to have at least 7 hours of sleep. So I had to learn to make sleep a priority. My word for 2022 was rest. And there's nothing wrong with rest. I have a new Instagram page called Pause Sis. It's at Pause Sis for emotional and mental wellness for Black women. So if you're listening, follow that page at Pause Sis. And I talk about taking breaks, relaxing, sleeping, breathing, because we have to. And I'm a Black woman, and this is what I experience. Sleep. Do what you can to make sure you're getting enough sleep to feel rested. If you aren't sleeping well, talk to your healthcare provider, it says. 6, eating healthy food. A healthy diet incorporates vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish may be linked to reduce anxiety. 7, learn about your disorder. Talk to your healthcare provider to find out what might be causing your specific condition, what treatments might be best for you. Involve your friends and family. Ask for their support. Let somebody know that you're anxious. We're not in a day and age to be shy now because there's so many people experiencing the same thing. And just having a conversation with somebody might help your anxiety to know that you're not alone, and you guys can walk together, breathe together, get on the phone. Number 9, identify triggers. Learn what situations or actions cause stress or increase your anxiety. Practice the strategies you develop with your mental health provider so you're ready to deal with anxious situations in an effective way, really. Number 10, keep a journal. Keep track of your personal life can help you, and it's so important so you can know, what stresses you. Like if you keep a daily journal, you can say, okay, I dealt with this. I felt stress here. This is what triggered me. You can know, because if you just have your same life, you don't know what's triggering you. You have no clue because your life has been your life. Then when you have stressors out of your life and you've overcome stressful situations, and you can say, oh, that was stressing me. Look how I was here. Now I'm here. Now I'm evolved from this type of trigger or stress. So you have to think about that because guys, your life depends on this. Your health depends on this. Calm down for your health. Number 11, socialize. Don't let worries isolate you from loved ones or activities. Now, sometimes people are experiencing anxiety and they don't want to be around someone. But being around someone can lower your anxiety. Over 40 million adults in the U.S. have an anxiety disorder. 40 million. So you are not alone. Anxiety can be managed. You have to understand what's happening with yourself. You have to understand what's happening with your body, and then you have to be able to manage that. Pray through it, meditate through it, laugh through it, call someone through it, seek a life coach, a counselor, a therapist, someone that can understand, someone that can empathize, someone that can really assure you that anxiety is real. Because I've heard people say, well, anxiety is not real. Anxiety is very much real. And it's temporary worry or fear. Anxiety doesn't just go away. It can get worse over time if you don't know how to manage it. So you have normal anxiety and then you have problem anxiety. So normal anxiety is triggered by certain situations or events. It's intermittent. It's beneficial because sometime normal anxiety can kind of make you clear on what's happening with you. Like, okay, this is a fuel. This can help me. I'm anxious about this getting on stage, on the play. I'm anxious, but every time I get anxious, I go out there and kill that role. That can kind of be normal where you're anxious and, about getting ready to do something in the upcoming minutes. And I've heard people say, okay, I'm getting ready to go on stage and sing. I'm real anxious. My hands are sweating. But every time I feel this way, I go out and kill it. That can be semi-normal. But the problem anxiety is if it interferes with your daily life. It's irrational. You can't calm yourself down. It's affecting your health. You're withdrawing from your social life. You're fearful. You have nightmares, and you're numb. You can't get through a normal day. You can't go outside because you're fearful something may happen. That's when you really need to seek help, because your life is worth it. Okay? So I want everybody, I know a lot of people struggle with anxiety, and everybody is on a different scale. Everybody doesn't have the same type of anxiety. Everybody hasn't been diagnosed. Some of the anxiety is a little lighter than others. Some is heavier than others. It's important that you understand yourself and know yourself and are able to do what you can do for yourself. But you really have to be honest with yourself and say, you know what? I need some help. And get the help that you need. All right. With every show, we have a wow moment and a takeaway. Let's get into it. This week's wow moment. Takeaways from today's show. I don't know what your takeaway from today's show is. You have to let me know by emailing me at KendéllLenice@gmail.com or hit me up on social media or wherever you're listening to your podcast. But my wow takeaway from this show is to stop and breathe. Because you might say, well, I'm breathing already. No, intentionally breathe through your situation. And if you feel like breathing is not helping you, then you need to call your medical doctor or a therapist if you have one, or get some type of referral to get it under control. Because I want you guys to live your very best life. And you're not going to be able to live it anxiety filled all the time. You have to understand your triggers, and you have to heal some things in your life. Healing is the root to a lot of things. One of my dear sisters, she was on social media, and she said, what is more important, growth or healing? I think it was something like that. And I said healing, because healing is usually the root, and healing begets growth. But you got to heal first. So those things that may be causing you pain or trauma or keep you up at night, you have to begin the healing process to figure it out. And it could be something so simple. It doesn't always have to be so deep. It doesn't have to be that deep thing that's getting you. Some people, it's really simple, is acknowledging and owning and understanding what's happening with your life, and what's happening in your life, and what's happened in your past, to be able to help you heal. And if you heal through some of those things that may be triggering your anxiety, you might feel a little lighter. But you have to address what's eating you. Because if you don't address your healing will address you. Because I guarantee you, your unhealed is showing, whether it's through anxiety or otherwise. I thank y'all so much for tuning into this episode in season 9, all about healing. Today's first installment was anxiety. Calm down for your health. Make sure you share this with someone who may be struggling with anxiety, and rate this podcast and leave a message if you can. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are a star. Don't allow, and I said watching because I do a talk show. Thank you for listening. You are a star. Don't allow anyone to dim your shine. Until next time, God bless. Peace. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Kendéll Lenice. And also go on over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. Again, thank you so much for your support. God bless y'all. Peace. Thanks for listening. This has been a Kendéll Lenice production.